All right, that's great.
Yeah, hi
So,
Precious.
hi, hello, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm Priya. I'll be hosting the session along with you.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for joining us today. You're on mute. You're on mute. Could you please unmute your mic?
Thank you so much. It's an honor.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us today. I have been through your channel and your videos. It has been amazing to see you there and to have you among us. So could you please introduce yourself so we can know more about you?
Okay, so my name is Precious Atulaegwu, and I am a public speaker and a YouTuber. And today I would like to take on mistakes that the public speakers make and how to avoid.
Okay. Thank you so much, Grace. So we have a variety of audience among us, people who have been facing little bit of difficulty in public speaking and to communicate properly with various types of audiences. So what would you like to tell them, like give them a tip about the public speaking? Like what are all the main important things that they have to concentrate when they are up on a stage?
Okay, I would like for you us to view public speaking as privilege because we are all sharing our ideas to people, and these ideas can potentially change the world. So we have to be very, very decisive in what we tell our audience. For example, if you're going to be on stage, I would like for you to prepare your speech very, very well so that you can easily connect with your audience.
Yeah, well, that is very true, Precious. We need to connect with the audience. We are on stage. Very well said. And there was a question among our participants that when we are set to prepare on a topic, how are we supposed to research on it? How are we supposed to prepare? And how are we supposed to know what to say and what not to speak on the stage?
Okay, so when you get on stage, or before you get on stage, you have to make your research from the internet, use the dictionary, check what you're going to say, the topic, and break down your point by outlining them so that when you get on stage, you will speak fluently and be able to analyze your points very well.
Okay, okay. So, guys, I think these tips and tricks are being very useful to all of you, since we all face some troubles while standing up on stage and while talking to a number of people. Precious, there was one more question, one more query that I regularly face from the participants is that when you are supposed to talk to a public or a kind of audience that you don't know about them and you have no idea what kind of people they are, how are we supposed to target them? How are we supposed to connect with them?
Thank you very much for that question. I would like for you to understand that I'm going to be talking about that in my speech, in my teaching today. I want you to know that when you're going to be speaking to your audience, you have to first of all research the target audience. The target audience are the people who you have in mind while you're starting the speech, the people who you're going to the people who you're intending to pass the message across to. So what you need to do is you outline your speech according to the way you can easily explain to them. For example, if you're going to teach further mathematics to someone, you can't start using terms that are being used in a university. If you're talking to children in kindergarten, you have to come down to their level. So you should also use emotionally charged words when you're speaking to people and you want to connect with your audience. You should use emotionally charged words.
Yes, Precious, we totally agree with you. Uh, Can we start the session now?
Precious?
All right. So I remember when I was in elementary school, I was asked to give a speech, and I was told to present on freedom, the importance of freedom. And so I had made up all the preparations, and I was all fired up. And then I got on stage, and I put up a face that was ready for business. I was frowning, and I squeezed my face with all focus, and then I began to speak. I was so focused on getting my lines perfectly well that I forgot to actually smile, and I forgot to try to relate with the audience. I stood there like a statue, talking to my audience, and the only thing that was actually moving was my lips. At the end of the presentation, I got down from the stage and I went to ask my friend, how did it go? How did it go? And he was like, to be honest, we didn't really feel what you were saying. It was a really funny experience. My name is Atulaegwu Precious. Today, I will be taking you all on the mistakes that I see public speakers make and how to perfectly avoid them. All right, so let's begin. Before I start, I would like to thank the organizers for putting together this wonderful session. And today, I would love to say namaste to all our viewers in India. Let us begin. The first, sorry about that. The first problem I see public speakers making is, number one, not having a good body language or having poor body language. Now, your body language comprises of about 98% of entire communication. So you have to be able to communicate with your audience perfectly well. Okay, now let me say this. Now, let's break down body language very well. Let's break down communication. Communication in a whole can be divided into two parts, visual and audio. Now, visual communication deals with your body language, while the audio deals with what you're saying, which is your speech, actually. Now, let's put together what visual communication is. What you're doing on stage needs to be able to depict the message that you're showing. When you're trying to talk about joy, you should be smiling. When you're talking about sorrow, you should put on a sorrowful face. That is to show your audience that you're able to connect to what they're saying so that they can perfectly understand you. All right, so another thing I would like to also point out is this. When you're on stage, you should try to use your hands as much as possible. As you can see, even on this video call, I'm using my hands to make demonstrations and explain what I actually mean. This is very powerful because it allows you to understand it allows your audience to understand what you're saying, because while you're speaking, you're painting an image in their heads. Another thing I would like to also point out is that when you're on stage, you have to make use of the stage. This is something I see a lot of public speakers faulting in. They don't make good use of the stage. Let's go back to the story I told you. When I got on stage, I was putting up a business face, and I just kept focusing on standing firmly without even using trying to communicate properly with the audience. I didn't have good body language. I was just standing like a statue. This made the audience to disconnect from me. And I want you to understand that public speaking is all about connection. You have to be able to connect with the audience. Another thing I would like to say concerning body language is making eye contact. I see a lot of public speakers who get on stage and they never make good eye contact. When you're speaking on stage, you need to be able to focus and connect with your audience. That's where you can make a good, you can have good connection with the audience. The second mistake I see public speakers doing is being too confined or not being dynamic enough. Let me put it this way, not exploiting the audience's emotion. Now, we have to understand that being a public speaker means you're going to say words, right? And these words, you intend to use them to change the whole idea, the perspective of people in their lives, and try to make an impact in their lives. So you have to be able to pass your information correctly, right? Now, the best way for you to do this is by exploiting the emotions of the audience. The best public speakers in the world know that when you want to pass a message across effectively, you have to attach that message to an emotion. I want you to understand this. People will always remember what people will never remember what you said, but they will always remember how you made them feel. When you're speaking to someone, the way you interact with that person is going to make the person feel or understand your message. So you have to be very, very keen on explaining this to people. You have to pay attention to their emotions. How can you do this? Firstly, you could use emotionally charged words. What are emotionally charged words? Emotionally charged words are words that are designed to activate or trigger the emotions of your audience. For example, when you're going to speak, okay, let me use this as a very beautiful example. In this sentence, I would like for us to pinpoint the emotionally charged words in that sentence. The biggest problem a child could ever face is neglection from his loved ones. What does this tell us? If a child is being neglected by his family or by his loved ones, he would really, really feel bad. It would really damage the self-confidence of the child. Now, the words I used in that sentence were biggest and neglection and problem. These words have a way of triggering an emotion in our audience. So that's way we can understand what we can actually connect to the audience. We can actually connect to the audience so that they understand what we're saying. Let's move on to the top tip. The third tip is not knowing the target audience. Like I said, I was going to talk about this. Now, for you to properly connect with the audience, you have to have someone in mind. When you're writing the speech, you have to be able to know who you'll be writing to, who you'll be talking to, and you have to be and that would actually help you to connect to your audience properly. For example, if I am going to teach about a topic called the importance of parenthood, my target audience are parents. And if I'm going to talk to teachers, and I'm going to talk about, let me say, why mathematics is one of the most important subjects, I'll be talking to those who want to improve in mathematics. I'll be highlighting the reasons why mathematics is so important. That's how it works. When you know your target audience, you would be able to explain and connect with them better. Why? Because that way you'll be able to understand what emotions they're feeling and how to exploit them. Public speaking is a very beautiful, beautiful, beautiful subject. It's something that helps us to speak to people. And if you don't know your target audience, it could really ruin your performance. I was coaching someone, and when I asked her the poem you're writing, who do you have in mind to pass this message to? And she said, no one. And immediately I stopped the session and I told her that that poem would never make the limelight. The reason is because she had no one she wanted to connect with. When you don't have a target audience, you're limiting yourself. You're limiting your ability to actually share information to people. So you must always have your target audience in mind. For example, here on the Prestige, my target audience are public speakers. And public speakers are people who I would have to connect with deeply for me to be able to explain what I'm trying to tell them. For me to be able to pass on those tips and tricks on my YouTube videos, I need to know that I'm talking about public speaking and my target audience are public speakers. So if you're going to talk to anyone about anything, you're going to know who those people are, right? So of course you must know your target audience. Now, tip number 4 is being afraid to be dynamic or pushing your limits. If you can't actually go out of your comfort zone, then the audience will feel like they already know what to expect from you. One thing about me is I don't like to be predictable. I like to shock the audience. I'm sure most of you here were expecting me to come up on stage and use an introduction and tell everyone about myself. But what did I do first? When I started the teaching, I first of all told you a story, right? I told you an experience that I had. The reason for that is to shock the audience and try to be more dynamic, try to be innovative, to connect properly to them. That's why you must always try to connect with your audience in ways that they wouldn't expect. For example, let's say you're going to talk about reproduction. As a teacher, you're going to talk about reproduction. What can you do? You could start by telling them a story. You could start by asking them a question. That way, you're actually getting the audience involved in what you're saying, right? So this allows you to be able to actually connect with the audience again, and you'll be able to pass the information clearly. That way, the audience would never, ever get bored. Another thing I would like to say is public speakers are very fond of not hitting the point. For example, what I do when I'm having a session like this or when I'm giving a speech is I write down my points. As you can see, I'm actually looking down to try to make sure that I always hit the points, hit the nail on the head. I always make sure that I say the right things that I plan to tell you. This is why having an outline and looking at that outline is very, very important. When you're going to speak to an audience, you have to make sure that you don't leave them in confusion. It's better to outline your speech so that you can explain to them very, very well. Now, a very easy way to avoid going through a lot of things is by outlining your speech. Step A, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. That way you can actually connect with the audience. You can actually send the message across properly. There was a day I went out for a seminar with a friend, and when we saw the speaker was telling us a lot of things that were really, really unnecessary. I felt that those things were really unnecessary because at first he started with his first crush, which had nothing to do with what he was speaking about. So that made the judges give him a 2 out of 10, which is a really low mark. Although, yes, he did try, but I feel it was because he was a bit nervous. Please, having an outline will help us to properly and effectively use and pass our message across. Now, number 5, grammatical errors. Grammatical errors can really, really mess up your presentation. How? For example, let's say you are going to be speaking to a council of professors, and then when you start the speech, you begin to fumble and make some really, really bad errors. And you know, they're professors, they're learned, they know English, they know Hindi, they know how to organize themselves very well. So you also need to be organized. Making these grammatical errors can really, really affect the way your audience sees you. They will see you as 1, immature, 2, unprepared, and that could really, really damage your audience retention. So when you get on stage, the first thing you need to do is calm down. Try to get all the anxiety and all the fear, take it all away. Keep yourself calm, relax. That way you can properly speak to the audience in a calm and in a deep voice. See, I want you to understand this. Grammatical errors happen to everyone because we are all humans, and we can really have these tendencies to falter or stutter like I am right now. It's because when we communicate, we are trying to pass as much message as possible, and this can really be hard if we are not prepared. Anxiety is something that can really hinder the possibilities of you passing your message effectively. So when you get on stage, the first thing you need to do is relax, calm down. When you see great public speakers speak, you would notice that what they do is when they get on stage, they smile. Did you know that smiling actually helps to reduce anxiety? That way, you can actually be much more free and fluent in your speaking. When you're calm, when you smile, you can actually reciprocate those emotions to your audience. I want you to, okay, now let's do a quick recap. Let's go through the 5 points that we have listed in case some of you didn't get them. The first point is having poor body language or no body language at all. The second one is not being, the second one is not exploiting the audience's emotions. Now, this is really bad. Not exploiting the audience's emotions. The third one is not being dynamic and innovative. The fourth one is not knowing your target audience. The fifth is not hitting the points, not stating the points directly. And the sixth one is grammatical errors. If there are any questions you would like to ask, let's ask them before I continue. Back to you, the audience.
Guys, do you have anything to ask to Precious? I think he made all the points very clear regarding public speaking. And if there is anything else that you want to ask and clear your doubts about, please go ahead.
Sir, from whom to we make eye contact? Because if I make eye contact with someone, I get missed all thing what I am gonna to say, express myself. So whom to see and how to deal with that situation?
Yeah, that's a very beautiful question. Now, there's this saying that I want you to take home. Write this down. When you speak, you have to make sure that you look at someone long enough to finish a sentence. For example, there's an idea that I like to use which enhances the way I speak in public. Listen, what I do is I create imaginary pillars around the hall. When I get on stage, or even before I get on stage, I'll already be in the venue. So I'll create imaginary pillars scattered around the hall in specific places. So when I am on stage, I would walk and turn to the direction of, let me say there's a pillar here. I would walk and turn to the direction of this pillar, look at someone that's sitting at that position, look them in the eye, and finish that sentence. For example, right now I've divided my screen into 4, and there's someone on the top left right corner, there's someone on the bottom right, and the person that asked the question is on the bottom right of the screen right now. And if I was to speak to you, what I would say is look at someone long enough to complete a sentence or a thought. Do you understand me? So this is something that is very important. That way you can actually organize yourself. That way you won't be stuck in one position. The audience will feel that you're confident. They will see you moving around the stage, and this could really help. Body language, communication, and making eye contact will also help you pass the audience this information. Back to you. Do you understand? Is that clear?
Yeah, I understand. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Abhishek, I think that would have been really helpful for you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Is there anybody else who wants to raise a question to Precious?
Yes, ma'am, I want to ask.
Yeah, go ahead, Stuti.
Hello, Grace. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Actually, my question is that is it compulsory to move to cover the whole stage when we are giving a speech in the audience?
Okay, that's a very good question. Now, let's calm down and analyze this. I want you
Okay.
to I want you to understand something. In my last video I posted on YouTube, I shared an experience that I had when I went to a competition. They asked one of the speakers to give an impromptu speech that would depict her being elected as the president of our country, Nigeria. And although her speech was very, very good, she kept moving around the entire stage so fast that she eventually knocked down the camera that was on stage. And that was really, really embarrassing. That was really embarrassing. Now, because of that incident, the audience gave her a 5 out of 10. Now, even like just like I said, her speech was very, very good. Her speech was superb. But I want you to understand that when it comes to moving and covering the stage, you have to use this. Write this down too. You have to make sure that you move with purpose. Move with purpose. Now, how does this apply to us? Like I said, when I come on stage, I already have pillars in my mind scattered all over the entire auditorium. And then what I do is I walk to a particular place so that it doesn't look like you're walking around over too much. You just walk there long enough to finish the sentence, then you stay there for some time, then you move around. What this does is that it allows the audience to adjust their eyes while you're moving so that they don't get too bored looking at you standing in one position. This is exactly the same technique I use in my videos when I switch sides on the screen. Sometimes I'll be in the middle, sometimes I'll be on the right hand side, sometimes I'll be on the left. This is because I don't want the audience to get bored. My videos usually last up to 11 to 10 to 9 minutes, and I have to make sure that I have to keep the audience watching long enough so that they don't get distracted. Does that answer your question? Yes, sometimes it is necessary to cover the stage, but not too much. You have to put everything in appropriation. Yes. When what I do when I'm on stage is I alter pillars in my imagination all over the auditorium. So, like I said, yes, it is important for you to move around, but not too much. If you do it too much, you would really, really look like you're not prepared and you're not ready for what you're saying. Back to you. Is that understood?
Yes, we get it.
Hello.
Yes, we get it. Thank you so much.
Okay. You're welcome.
Sir, I have one more question.
Yeah,
Sir, what would you do at that situation when anyone asks you a question and at that particular period of time you don't know the answer? So what would you do? How you can handle that situation from the audience if anyone asks you a question and you don't know?
okay. That is a very, very good question. Now, it has happened to me before, but there's a very, very good way that you can handle that kind of
Hello.
situation. There are two ways, in fact, telling the audience that you get to them later, which sometimes some audience will feel that you are not prepared for what you're saying. But the other way is the way that I would actually prefer to do it, which is I would process, like, you have to be able to think on your feet as a public speaker. There is no way that you would not be able to give a direct answer to something that they ask you. For example, let's say you ask me about reproduction. Everybody knows about reproduction, so I would just simply let me say I don't have a specific answer towards that question. What I would do is I would try to analyze the question with them, and then I would tell them that with more research, I would still get back to them. So what you're doing is you're just allowing the audience to understand that you don't know the question at that moment, but you still get back to them. Okay, let's do an example. Ask me a question, and I'll try to reply.
What is second law of thermodynamics?
Okay, I am an art student, and to be honest, I have not really studied anything about science. But the truth is, right now, I cannot give you an exact answer, but I do understand that thermodynamics does have something to do with physics. When I have the right answer, trust me, I will do my research and I will get back to you. Now, that way, I've actually answered your question. It's better than not saying anything, right? It's much better than,
Right.
yeah, but it's better than not saying anything. But the truth is, I am a science student and I do know the second law of thermodynamics. But I'm just putting myself in a position where if I was a art student or a commercial student and I don't know the second law of thermodynamics, that is exactly what I would have said. Back to you. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
All right. The key there is actually being able to speak or say something when you're in a very tight situation, being able to answer quickly so that the audience does not realize that you're shocked and you don't know what to say or what to do. That is the key.
You are a student of
Princess,
in which class you are studying? Precious? Precious? You are studying in which class? Which standard? You are a student of art now? Precious, you are saying that you are a student of art. So I like to know in which class
The truth is I'm actually a science student. So I was just putting myself in the position of an art student so that I can probably explain that question. I'm a science.
okay, no big deal. I'm just I'm just asking you in which class you are reading now. You are a student of which standard or which course?
I'm going to be studying architecture. I'm going to be studying architecture as my professional course, but I'll still be doing public speaking every step of the way because that is what I enjoy and that is what I love doing. Architecture is I also take pleasure in architecture, but I love public speaking more. That's what I've decided to do in my life, and that is what I'm going to continue doing, and I will still be doing architecture.
all the best for it, Precious. I have a question for you. It is somewhat related to the last question that Abhishek asked you. While you are presenting something, if you have been countered by the audience with an opposite point, like you were not ready for a counter and they countered you, now you don't have any reply to them, what are we supposed to do? Like if there is some contradiction in views or something like that, at that point of time, what are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to handle the pressure?
That is very nice. That is very nice. Now, um, there was a the same outing I went with my friend where that woman knocked down the camera. Right there, they opposed another speaker, and do you know what he said? He simply said that what he said was his own view. You can acknowledge the fact that everyone have their own views and everyone have the right to say what they believe, and that is your own view of it, and that if the audience can provide you with a better explanation, that's where it would be that you would be very comfortable with what you're saying. See, the key to that kind of situation is you have to already make your session to be an interactive one. Okay, let's say I'm a teacher and I'm teaching in a class and one of my students opposes what I'm teaching. That would be very embarrassing, right? But if my session is interactive, just like this one, people can correct me and it will look very casual. So the best thing for you to do is to make your speech. That's why I prefer the friend to friend conversation way of speaking when I'm doing public speaking, because it allows me to be able to connect with the audience on a personal level, one, and two, it allows you to actually avoid embarrassing situations like this one. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, Precious. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Participants, do you have any other question?
Yes, sir. I ask a question. How to build our confidence level on the stage?
How to build your confidence?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Now, there is a very funny way I found to do this. It's really funny, but it works. Before you get on stage, or before you even get the idea to even give a speech or something, you have to already have confidence. Before you start speaking, you have to be confident. Now, how can you do this? There is something that I saw a public speaker do, and what he did was he went to the streets, and he filmed himself shouting in public, talking to nobody. He just started talking to everyone. I mean, if you could embarrass yourself in that kind of situation, then there is no way anyone will be able to intimidate you on stage, because you've already have the confidence to push yourself out there and speak to people who you don't even know, and you're just saying random things about yourself. The public speaker went to the street and he was like, "Hello, everyone. I'm 71 and I am an old man, but I believe that I can still do things better than young people." It was very funny. People started staring at him. They started laughing. And when he got down from the stage, when he left the street, he spoke to the camera and he was like, "Well, guys, I just embarrassed myself now. So there is no way I would ever get scared again on stage." Another thing you could do is you could also ask for the help of confidence coaches. Yes, what I just told you now is what the public speaker did was a trick that would enable him to easily explain express himself to the audience. He did that because he wanted to get rid of any form of anxiety, because by acquiring more anxiety from another stage and facing it. So because he had already conquered the anxiety of talking to the people on the streets, he was no longer afraid. How did he summon the courage? He summoned it from within. First, you have to believe in yourself. Believe that you can actually do it. Let me tell you something. Yesterday marked my 17th birthday. Yes, I am that young. And I started public speaking when I was about 7, which means I've been doing public speaking for about 10 years. And the fact is, through those years, the first thing I had to do was work on my self-confidence. In school, I was at the bottom of the social status. So that actually affected my confidence. But because I started believing in myself more, I started putting myself out there, I started being open to ridicule and criticism, I was able to actually realize who I was and be able to express myself to people. Because self-confidence comes from within. You have to, first of all, be calm. I have a YouTube video on this explaining the tricks that you can actually use to make yourself look more confident on stage, even when you're anxious. Let me tell you a secret. When we first started the conference, I was a little bit scared and anxious, because wow, there are actually a lot of people videoing me. I've never done a video call or a in my country, Atulaegwu really means I am not afraid. So my surname bears a very powerful meaning. So I continue to remind myself the meaning of my last name. That way I constantly know what I'm doing is right. What I'm doing is I've prepared for this, so I should be confident. My confidence automatically boosts. Does that answer your question? Inside, you have to actually put yourself out, be open to those things that you know that you are more likely to run away from. So when you face your fears, they become less of a fear. When you face your fears, they become less of a fear. I want you to have that the only enemy is you. The only person that can actually hinder your potential is you. So there is no stage on the earth, there is no stage in any part of the universe that you cannot stand on and speak, because you are a speaker, and a public speaker is confident because you are confident. Always bear in mind that you are better than whatever anyone wants to say. You must be confident. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
sir.
so much. Thank you so much, Precious, for such
Well,
a motivating session for us. In this platform with Speak Now, we are trying to build up good public speakers, and we are trying to encourage people to take up public speaking and express their views in front of mass of people, so that right to speech is something that's very important for everyone, and everybody should know how to express their views, and that requires a skill. Well, thank you so much for coming between us today and actually letting us know where we can make mistakes and what are all the vulnerable points that we have to concentrate on. And thank you for enhancing the Speak Now platform with your session.
you're very welcome. You're very welcome. It's an on, like I said when I started, it is an honor to have to speak to you all today. I am really honored. Thank you so much.
It was nice to have you here, and I hope to see you soon again in this session.
Guys, I think the session was very useful for everybody, and everybody got a chance to know what are all the common mistakes that you will be doing when you become a person to hold a stage, and when you are right in front of people to talk about your views and express yourself. So, see, public speaking is more of an art and more of a skill that can be learned and can be corrected. You evolve at each and every step, and as Precious told us, confidence is something comes when you believe in yourself. So, all of you, I think the main takeaway from this session would be to believe in yourself and to work on yourself constantly, to be prepared and to act confidently while you are on the stage.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for having me here, Speak Now. I am so honored. If you have more and more teachings on this,
Thank
why don't
you.
you on head on my YouTube channel? I'm going to be posting this.
Yes.
Let's see it.
Thank you, Precious. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Precious.
Thanks a lot. Be encouraged. We feel
Thanks a
encouraged,
lot.
Precious.
Thanks a lot, guys. I hope everyone enjoyed the session, and we will bring Precious soon again with a new good sessions. I hope to bring him again and again. Thank you all for joining in. Till then, keep speaking, keep spreading. Thank you.
Thank you so much.